Global tech services hiring just collapsed from 8% growth to zero in 24 months. Corporate profits, record highs. This isn't a slowdown. This is the fastest white-collar job purge in modern history, and the data shows the richest economies are getting executed first. Forget the recession narrative. Look at unemployment across the G7 plus Korea and India since 2005. In 2008, every line spiked together, a synchronized financial crisis. But watch what's happening now. The US, UK, Germany, Canada, the deepest tech-penetrated economies on Earth, are seeing unemployment quietly drift upward while their GDP keeps climbing. India and Japan, with lower AI exposure in white-collar sectors, are flat. This isn't a cyclical downturn. There's no banking collapse, no oil shock. The labor market is fracturing along one axis only: how exposed your workforce is to large language models. The countries with the most knowledge workers are bleeding the fastest. Compare the slope from 2022 to 2024 against the 2008 baseline. It's not as steep yet, but it's steeper than any non-recession period in the last 30 years, and it's happening while CEOs publicly brag about doing more with less. That's the quiet part out loud. Here's the counter-argument every economist will throw at you. But GDP is growing. If AI were destroying jobs, output would fall. Wrong. That's exactly the trap. Look at GDP growth across these 8 countries from 2020 to 2023. The US, Germany, France, all positive. Korea posting solid numbers. Now overlay services value added as a share of GDP. Services, the white-collar sector, is hitting all-time highs as a percentage of every advanced economy. Output is soaring. The pie is bigger than ever. But the slice going to human labor is shrinking. This is the AI decoupling. For 70 years, GDP growth meant job growth. That link is breaking in real time. Companies are generating more revenue per employee than at any point in recorded history. Microsoft's revenue per worker just hit $950,000. Meta's is over $2 million. They're not hiring, they're harvesting. The economy is growing. The workers are not invited. Where do laid-off knowledge workers go? They don't get rehired, they get reclassified. Look at self-employment rates across these economies. In the US, UK, and Canada, self-employment is climbing sharply post-2022. That sounds entrepreneurial until you realize what it actually is. Displaced engineers, marketers, and analysts being forced into Fiverr, Upwork, and consulting gigs at half their previous income, with no benefits, no stability. This is the same pattern we saw in manufacturing in the 1980s. Except it's happening to people with master's degrees. And here's the kicker. Cross-reference internet penetration. The countries with 95% plus connectivity, exactly the countries where every job touches a screen, are the ones funneling workers into the gig economy fastest. Being digitally native used to be a competitive advantage. Now, it's a liability. The more replaceable your job is by an API call, the more wired your country, the harder you're getting hit. Want to know which workers get executed next? Follow the money. R&D spending as a percentage of GDP shows you where AI capital is concentrating. Korea is at 4.9%, the US at 3.5%, Germany at 3.1%, Japan at 3.3%. These 4 countries are now the global epicenter of AI capex. And they're the same 4 countries showing the steepest white-collar employment shocks. This isn't coincidence. It's mechanical. Every dollar poured into R&D right now is funding the model, the agent, the system that replaces the worker who used to do that task. India spends 0.7% of GDP on R&D and is still hiring developers. Korea spends 7 times more and just saw its first year of negative tech employment growth ever. The R&D map is the layoff map. If your country shows up at the top of this chart, your job is on the clock. Full stop. Now, zoom out. GDP growth across these 8 economies from 2005 to 2023 tells the cleanest story of the decade. The line keeps climbing. Crisis, recovery, crisis, recovery. But here's what's new. For the first time in modern economic history, we have positive GDP growth, record corporate margins, record services output, and collapsing white-collar hiring, all at once. In 2008, jobs fell because output fell. That makes sense. In 2024, output is rising and jobs are falling. That has never happened at this scale before. The economists calling this a normal labor market adjustment are looking at the wrong data. This is a structural break. AI capital isn't augmenting workers, it's substituting for them, exactly the way industrial robots replaced assembly lines. Except this time, the targets aren't factory workers, they're you. The lawyer, the analyst, the coder, the copywriter, the consultant. The data is unambiguous. The denial is the only thing left. The verdict is simple. AI is not augmenting white-collar work. It is replacing it. The richest, most wired, most R&D-intensive economies on the planet are now the ones bleeding cognitive jobs fastest. Output is at record highs. Profits are at record highs. Hiring has collapsed. That gap between what the economy produces and what workers earn from producing it is the defining economic story of this decade. We've been told AI would free us to do more meaningful work. The data says AI is freeing companies from paying us at all. The 2008 crisis took 18 months to fully hit labor markets. This one is faster, quieter, and aimed directly at the people who thought their degrees made them safe. If you want the charts, not the spin, subscribe. We read the World Bank data so you don't have to. No vibes, no hot takes. Just the numbers that tell you what's actually happening to your job market before the headlines catch up.